Tonight on episode 36 of the Penthouse Basements Podcast, we take a trip back to the Thought Bowl for a movie cavalcade. Topics discussed include a review of the Han Solo movie and a status report of the state of Star Wars, the Freddie Mercury biopic, and a spring movie roundup. Plus, we forget hundreds of names with no fact-checking whatsoever. Episode 36 of the Penthouse Basements Podcast starts right now.
You're listening to WOWDLP Tacoma Park, and this is the Thought Bowl. How are you out there in radio listening land, whether you're listening on 94.3 for people with terrestrial radios or tacomaradio.org worldwide, no matter where you are in the world. You can be in Madagascar, you could be in Paris, you can tune in tacomaradio.org and hit us up at thoughtbowlradio.org and let us know how you're listening to the show today, and give us your comments about the new Star Wars movie Solo. So we're here today, so a new Star Wars movie, which means our world-renowned movie critic is back, David Lomison.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me.
That was just for you, David.
This is just so much more high tech than the last time I was on the show.
We got sound effects and everything.
Nice drops. Yeah. That's great.
So, when did you see the Solo movie?
That sigh of yours before talking about Star Wars. Star Wars. When did we see it? 2 days ago we saw it. Thursday.
All right.
We saw it. So, still pretty fresh in the mind, as fresh as it can be. What about you, Pete? When did you see it?
I forgot. I think Saturday, Friday or Saturday the week before.
Lots of people in the theater? Or?
No, there was like 7. Well, I went to see it at like 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So on a Saturday, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, last Saturday, a week from today. And no, not a lot of people. So I got the prime seat that I wanted. Which was nice. Yeah,
when we went to see it Thursday evening, not a lot of people in the theater. And actually, it was like a violent thunderstorm happening.
Yeah.
And the power went out. It was the first time I've ever been in a movie theater where the power went out. And so we had to wait a little bit for the movie to start. It was maybe like 10 minutes. The power went out once during the Incredibles 2 trailer, and then once like as this movie was like right about to get started. So didn't end up missing anything, but not sure that anything in the beginning is worth not missing.
Right.
Like you could have come in, I'm just so apathetic towards Star Wars now, Pete. Like I've been broken now. Was this Disney's plan
to break us,
to
destroy
people,
our childhood,
buy Star Wars up and destroy it, so that now Disney products can be the dominant? Maybe they wanted Marvel to succeed more, and so they buy Star Wars, a competitor,
to destroy it. I never thought about that.
And now Marvel is the most powerful movie franchise now.
Wow, that's something I've never thought about.
No more competition.
Yeah, but before we get into Solo, I think we need to recap all the Disney Star Wars movies real quick. So I'm just going to run them down, and I'll give some of the box office numbers.
Pete's done some research here, so you listeners out there, you need to really appreciate this.
All my research.
He spent upwards of 2 minutes on Google.
I did. When I was supposed to be working, I was looking up these stats.
It counts as work.
Yeah. So in December of 2015, the long-awaited Episode 7, a.k.a. The Force Awakens.
Which I liked. You were lukewarm on?
I've seen it a few times, and I still don't like it, but I like it a little bit more.
More than Last Jedi. Has your thoughts flipped?
No, I think I still like Last Jedi a little bit better.
Wow.
So in the box office, it pulled in $2 billion with the B, and I do think it was one of the biggest box up grossing things in the history of movie time.
Movies. One of the biggest grossing movies of all time. Oh, those things.
I think the Titanic was one of the other ones. I don't know whether it beat it or...
Original Star Wars is up there, too.
Yeah.
New Hope.
I had a running time. I think this is important, too. The running time of all these new Star Wars movies, 135 minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I understand because it was a long ways between episode 6 and 7, a lot to recap. So I understand the length of that one.
That was how long Solo was, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was your impressions of The Force Awakens?
I mean, it rehashed a lot. People say it was like a shameless remake of A New Hope, and it was. I mean, all you had to do was be safe after how bad the prequels were. So that's what they did. They made a safe Star Wars movie. They let all the fans know, Disney, we know what you miss from Star Wars. We're not doing boring politics. We're not having people sitting around conference tables talking like the prequels was, filled with. We're using practical effects. We're not going to heavily lean on CG. Mm-hmm. We're not going to make everything look like a weird video game. We're going to have realistic looking backgrounds. And they did it. I think they did it. If that was your mission, they did it.
Okay. Then the following year, we have a theme here of releasing these movies during Christmas time or December.
Yes.
Rogue One came out and pulled in the box office a mere $1 billion. So basically half of what The Force Awakens, Rogue One, brought in. And that had a running time, again, pretty close, 2 hours and 13 minutes.
I will say about Rogue One, I think, did we talk about that on this very show, Pete? It was okay. It was we can spoil it now. It was very bold to do what they did and basically kill every main character at the end. But with the story they were telling, that's what they had to do. There were parts that sort of bad CGI. I think they had young Princess Leia, who was CG, and that looked like a video game. They had Grand Moff Tarkin, Peter Cushing. He was CG. He looked bad, But other than that, it was a fine action movie with weird parts that weren't that great.
Okay. Then, December of 2017, Episode 8, The Last Jedi, pulling in $1.33 billion. And that had a running time of 2 hours and 32 minutes. No reason for Episode 8 to be that long, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I would say maybe there's an hour-long good Star Wars movie hidden in that sea of movie. But it's just bogged down by so many things. And I've said this before. I think I might have said it on this radio show. They're trying to push Star Wars in new, bold directions. But what are we left with at the end of this Last Jedi? We're left with spunky rebellion with new Jedi learning the ropes against evil Empire with dark Jedi. And that's every Star Wars movie. So we may have gone in weird directions to get here, but we're still at the same place.
Right. So it kind of seems like they're rehashing.
Yeah.
It's like they have a template, and they're just writing around that template.
Yeah. And they were like, we're going to go in bold directions, but the bold directions took us to the same place. It's like, I'm going to turn off Google Maps to get here this one time, and
we'll get lost.
But then we finally find our home.
Right. And you're happy because you did it on your own.
Right. Okay. That's what Last Jedi was, a failure of Google Maps.
All right. So we had those 3 movies, and Solo being the 4th one. And before we get to the review of Solo, I want to play, in my opinion, one of the highlights of the movie. There's always some really good space funk in all of these movies. And this one, it's a really bizarre sounding song, but I am in so love with it. It's by, the artist is John Powell, and apparently he does a lot of soundtrack work. And the song is Chicken in the Pot. Podcast. You're listening to the Thought Bowl here on WOWD, and that was a chicken on a pot from the Solo soundtrack by the artist John Powell. And if you just tuned in, we're here with our resident movie critic, David Lomison, because anytime a new Star Wars movie comes out, we bring him on to talk about it. And there just happened to be a new Star Wars movie called Solo, a Ron Howard story. I'm sorry, Solo, a Star Wars story.
That was the point of contention. So the movie, I forget the original directors, but apparently theirs was more of like a weird, lighthearted, like comedic action movie.
Oh, wait, you mean Ron Howard was brought in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the same issue that Rogue One had, where the original Rogue One I'm the greatest film critic because I can spout out facts, but I don't remember names or anything. But Rogue One, they had the original directors, and Disney was like, this is too weird. And so they brought in the guy who finished it and recut it, and we saw what he came up with. But I just wonder what these movies would have been like with their original visions, like without Disney's, interference.
So yeah, that is my question. Who is because you can blast the episode 1, 2, and 3, but it was George Lucas's vision.
Yes.
A consistent vision, and now we don't have that. They're basically
it's a committee,
right? They're giving it to a director, and each one is its own thing. And I think Ron Howard, man, I don't understand why Ron.
You don't like Happy Days, Pete?
I love Happy Days. I love Happy Days. Love Andy Gryphon. Love Splash. Love Cocoon.
Andy
love Apollo
Gryphon.
13.
He's an attorney that is a half lion, half eagle.
Gryphon, yeah. But I don't understand why. Why would you get Ron Howard? What are you trying to make this more? I would say mainstream, but I don't think Star Wars can be any more mainstream.
Because he's a lackey. He's a corporate lackey. He will do whatever Disney said. Yeah. Like
that could be.
That's why he did it. And I'm not taking away from his like earlier accomplishments. Like Apollo 13, that's a really good movie.
Oh yeah. But I think he does good with historical, factual things.
Well, I mean, this is from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Pete. This happened.
Yeah, and Splash. I think that was a true story too, wasn't it? Yeah.
A mermaid woman.
Yeah. So I hated Solo.
Literally.
Out
of 10, what would you give it?
3. Wow. How about you?
That's a low number. I mean, I'd give it a 5. I mean, we were talking before air. I mean, there's some okay action in the movie, but there's just not enough of it. Like, I mean, it's been in the trailers and on the TV commercials, but the train heist scene, it's a fine action scene. It's a good action scene. Not enough Donald Glover, which I was very disappointed in. I thought there would be more of him, like him and Lando and Han would, be palling around together for most of the movie. But
are they saving that for the Lando movie?
I mean, I don't know. Are we even getting a Lando movie after this is underperformed?
I think so. I mean, I think they're committed to doing whatever they already have in the pipeline. I would think they're going to do regardless of how, I wouldn't say poor it does at the box office, but how underwhelming for a Star Wars movie it does in the box office.
Well, that's the thing. These are underwhelming for Star Wars movies, but they're still high dollars that they're raking in. I mean, and it hasn't even premiered overseas yet, I don't think. So we're here in America talking about, woe is Star Wars. This is the end of Star Wars. Solo has underperformed, but I mean, it's still making tons of money.
Oh, yeah.
I just wonder if there's a tipping point with these missteps with the main trilogies and with these side movies. If there's going to be a wake up call for Disney where they're like, maybe we should rethink the strategy. Kathleen Kennedy, she is a holdover from George Lucas. She was like George Lucas's second in command.
Oh, really?
She's the one that's head of Star Wars now.
Oh, okay.
And
so she's the gatekeeper.
Literally, she's the gatekeeper. And I wonder when Disney says this isn't working. I mean, it's just, as I was saying earlier, Pete, like, I'm not excited for any new Star Wars movies.
Do you think they're coming out too frequently?
Maybe. I mean, I remember, what was the gap between, it was like 2-3 years between the original trilogy.
Are you talking about episodes 1, 2, and 3?
No, episodes
it was
4,
longer
5,
than,
6.
It was longer than that.
Oh,
yeah. I think 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not getting that anymore. Where they're like churning these out in like a conveyor belt style.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that's hurting the quality. I don't know. But the days of a kooky old man, George Lucas, like running the show on his own with nobody questioning him, those days are long gone.
Mm-hmm. Could they bring him back into the mix?
I don't think he. I mean, if you saw the exit interviews after he sold Star Wars to them, he was like a jilted lover, like after a divorce. Like he was like, I'm moving on with my life. I'm going to make my own movies. You know, I'm done with Star Wars. So.
Was it the fanboy attitude that was turning him off?
I think that was an aspect of why he sold Star Wars. I think, where he was sick of the prequel hate. I mean, rightfully so. Their prequels aren't good. Right. I mean, there's revisionist history that's come out since Disney bought it that, you know, top 10 reasons why the prequels are misunderstood. Like, you know, it's bogus. You know, those are bad movies, and Disney's just trying to save face with this, which there aren't really any spoilers in Solo, but there's one cameo, and I'm not going to say who it is. And actually, I was so surprised who it was. If I gave the average Star Wars fan 20 guesses to give me who they think the cameo character is, I don't think they would be able to come up with it. I mean,
I don't even know. You're going to have to refresh me during the next song.
I was very surprised. But I mean, after learning some things about the movies that are possibly coming, it makes sense why this character who has come out of the blue is in this movie. So, you know. They're trying to world build like with Marvel,
right?
Essentially,
yeah. And I do wonder that that new influence of things that are super popular, like Game of Thrones or the Marvel movies and everything, whether that's influencing Disney and their making of the Star Wars movies going forward.
Well, I mean, and even toy sales too, which were also a major bread and butter of George Lucas's empire. Like people aren't buying toys anymore.
No.
You know, so another aspect of this like cash cow, this Star Wars cash cow, isn't performing as well as Disney would have anticipated. So I would assume that they're not regretting the purchase, but if they have a few more missteps, you don't want to tarnish this product that is so beloved in pop culture. But I mean, what happens if the Boba Fett movie bombs, the Episode 9 bombs? You know, they gotta right the ship because a lot of people like Star Wars. So
what do you think about how Han and Chewbacca met up in this Solo movie?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, you know, the fans are gonna like it. I mean, that was one of the positives about the movie. Like I would say, there's good action. The movie's mostly forgettable, but the chemistry between Han Solo and Chewbacca is really good. Like Chewbacca is a really good character. You know, I hope Disney, like a Disney exec, isn't listening to this because they'll be like, "Oh, we need a standalone Chewbacca movie now. Let's greenlight 3 of them.
Let's reboot the Chewbacca the Christmas special."
The Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's canon anymore. It's considered a Star Wars legend, maybe. I think that's the buzzword they gave all of the extended universe stuff when they bought it. But yeah, I mean, just like not as much Donald Glover. I don't know, Pete. I just become apathetic with Star Wars. I mean, you grew up, you saw some of the movies in the theaters, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, the original Episode 4.
And it was like crazy madness with this.
Yeah, it was.
And I wonder if the internet existed back then, would there be like backlash and stuff? Like, because there was no way for people that didn't like Star Wars to vent.
Right.
So... You know, I guess you could like spray paint your grievances on a wall somewhere back then, but
on your Pinto or your Gremlin car,
call into a disco radio station. This is why I don't like Star Wars.
I also think the Solo movie was more I think, obvious with the allusions to, okay, obviously the Empire is Nazi Germany. Making that blatant.
I mean, that's what the original Star Wars was. It was like World War II in space.
I think there was a little bit more. I think it was one level removed from the obvious from them. But this almost seemed like this seemed more like an Indiana Jones movie, because even the outfit that his love interest was wearing, it almost seemed like, oh, this is like, seems like they're in like, you know, like Nazi Germany, and he's fallen in love with like a Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah, I mean, like a Elza Schneider from Last Crusade, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But one thing I did want to touch on about the movie, it's dark. Like, not tone-wise, but like the cinematography. Like, they didn't have enough lights or whatever. Like, did you notice that while you were watching it?
I watched it in 3D, so I was more interested in the 3D effects. But I did notice a lot of like. Game of Thrones is like that, where there's a lot of scenes that it's just like really, really dark.
I guess we want to make this look dark and gritty, so just smear some mud or chocolate pudding on the lens, and that'll give us the look that we want.
Yeah, and even, I don't know whether they shot it on film. I'm not sure how often people actually use film now, but even the film grading process almost made it seem like it was like retro in a way. It's almost like they tried to capture, you know, what episode 4 looked like.
They want. I mean, that's a side effect of the prequels. Like, they don't want anybody to think about those movies anymore unless they can make a little scratch from it. Cha-ching.
Right. Yeah. Everyone can make a little bit of money from the Star Wars movie, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But all right, so we wrapped up Solo. Neither of us liked it. I think I probably liked it less than you.
Right, I was probably lukewarm.
You said a 5, right?
Yeah, I'd give it a 5.
And I gave it a 3.
If you like Solo, just go buy some Solo cups and drink out of them.
Yeah, some red Solo cups. Yeah, they're named after.
Don't worry about the movie.
Yeah,
you know?
And it was interesting how Han Solo got his name. So basically, the Empire assigned it to him. Well, how did Han like come in?
No, that's his name.
Oh, okay.
And then he was like, are you with anybody? And he's like, no, I'm alone. And the guy was like, Han Solo?
Yeah. That almost seemed like a little like farce type thing.
So that's the type of background building that this movie does. Mm-hmm. So if that is groan-inducing and sounds dumb to you, I mean, that's the movie with a couple cool action scenes.
Yeah.
And a weird cameo.
Yeah. So hit us up at thoughtbowlradio.org. And if you saw it, let us know what you thought. So we're going to a Queen song now. And this is a underappreciated Queen song called Dragon Attack. Yep. Queen. Dragon Attack. How did you stumble upon this song, David?
I mean, Queen's a good band, and he just wanted to play a preview for me so that I could realize, oh, yep, that's the song. Now you can play it for everyone else.
So, once again, Dragon Attack.
Podcast.
And you're listening to the Thought Bowl on WOWD, and we're here back with renowned movie critic David Lomison, and we
not after this episode.
We just heard a track by Queen called Dragon Attack, and Queen's one of David's favorite bands. Would you say your favorite band?
Oh yeah, okay. Without question.
How do you feel about the Adam Lambert fronted Queen?
I mean, obviously not as good. I'm surprised at how skilled he is, but. Like, the issue isn't with him, though. The issue is, like, I think Brian May's too old. I think Roger Taylor's too old. And, you know, John Deacon doesn't even tour with them. So
yeah, it was some other bass player. Yeah. I did see them doing a version of Dragon Attack with Adam Lambert fronting it.
He's good. He's very talented.
He's good. I think his voice is too pure sounding. He doesn't have the pain that... You hear Freddie Mercury sing, you know there's some pain and some... other stuff going in there. Adam Lambert just, I think, sings too good and sings too pure to do a lot of those songs.
I think maybe before each performance, somebody should just kick out Adam Lambert in the gut, and then he'll have the pain.
Right.
Freddie
Or
Mercury
punch him in the face or something like that. Or if he has like root canal, he should come in and sing that day, and don't give him any Novocaine or anything like that.
Yep, that's what they should do.
So, would you go see them if they came?
No.
You wouldn't see them
No,
live?
I wouldn't
Really?
see them live. I just think, like with these other bands, like your favorite bands, like the Rolling Stones, they're just too old. Like we have the recordings, we have the live recordings of like Freddie Mercury in his prime,
Right?
The band in their prime. Like we don't need to go see them live anymore.
I saw the Rolling Stones 20 years ago, and they seemed too old then. So now,
are they still touring? They're probably
still touring. Well, Mick Jagger's starting to get to that point where he's having some physical stuff where he can't move around like he used to.
Now he is.
Now he is. Yeah. That pact with the
80s,
devil
Pete.
was finally coming. Well, they got to be close to 80 at this point.
Oh yeah.
So he's having hip problems and all that. So I think, this could be like maybe their last year or next to last year of them doing, they might do like a handful of shows, but them doing 70 to 100 shows per year, I think this is probably the last year of them being able to do that.
Yeah.
So in addition to the solo movie, there was a whole bunch of movies that came out this year. So, David, give us some of your highlights of some of the best movies of this year.
Thank you, Pete. I just wanted to go over some of the movies that I recently went to see and really liked. Top of the list, probably Deadpool 2. Recently saw that. If you like the first one, it's really good. Deadpool's a very interesting character. He's a mutant. And R-rated superhero movie, tons of fun. His shtick is he has like a healing factor like Wolverine, and he's a deadly assassin, and he's sort of he knows he's in a movie. Like he's like he always breaks the fourth wall all the time, and it's filled with pop culture references. And they do a really good job of putting those into the movies without like having them be overpowered. And it's an enjoyable, fun action movie. Like you go to see these like DC superhero movies, and they're very like depressing and like dour and dark, and like you go see a movie like Deadpool 2, and it's like you're laughing through most of the movie, and there's good action, so I would say those movies, the Deadpool movies more so, are polar opposites of the DC cinematic universe movies, which have been a misstep.
And why is it rated R? What's going on that these Deadpool's rated R?
Well, listen, Pete, there's naughty words.
That
swears,
we can't say on the radio.
We can't say it on the radio. Refer to the George Carlin bit. And violence. Very violent. I wouldn't take a kid to see these movies, but I mean, obviously we see children in the theaters.
And nudity?
Was there nudity in this one? I don't think so.
Nothing?
I don't think there was any nudity
Really?
in this one. No, it's all violence and language.
Wow, that has to be
think.
I tend to think movies are pretty violent, so for it to get an R for violence, there must be a lot of...
I think it might... I mean, this is like ultra violence.
Oh, okay.
Deadpool gets ripped in half at one point, literally.
Oh, okay. A lot of blood. You see a lot of blood?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. And, violent murders with, like, people he's been tasked with assassinating. And, this movie has a very cool time travel subplot. Like, I know a lot of movies and TV shows, they use time travel as like a crutch.
Right.
But this one has a pretty cool time travel subplot, or plot. And, go see Deadpool. Go see Deadpool 2. It's really good.
And what other movies? would you put up there
Infinity War, which talked about a lot on our other podcast, the Penthouse Basements Podcast. You should check that out on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. But I haven't been able to talk spoilers with it because some people hadn't seen it. But I
think you could. How long ago did it come out?
It came out a while ago.
Oh, okay.
Pete. We can do spoilers.
Okay, you
here.
can go ahead.
So I would say awesome movie. Shocking ending. Thanos wins. He is able to get all the Infinity Stones on his little oven mitt, and he snaps his fingers, and half of the world, the universe, goes away, and that includes Spider-Man dead, Black Panther dead, and you're left at the end with Thanos sitting down watching the sunrise. He's won. And the movie does a really good job of... There's tons of characters in this movie, and they do a very good job of not making a person that has not seen every Marvel movie not feel lost. because there are 18 or 19 other Marvel movies, and I've not seen all of them. I've maybe seen 10 of them, and I wasn't lost. And I was with somebody that hadn't seen more than one or two, and they weren't lost. So, you know, it's a testament to Marvel and, you know, Disney, even though we were just bashing them for how they were handling Star Wars. It's the polar opposite with how they're handling Marvel. You know, how they can, this is the culmination of all of these movies, and they've like done an amazing job bringing them together. And
Who's directing all these films, or do they kind of?
No idea, Pete. No idea. I have no idea.
It's not no one famous, or
I mean, Scorsese. Martin Scorsese.
Oh, that's interesting. So Mean Streets, Goodfellas, and
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Did you see the Tanya Harding movie?
I, Tanya?
Yeah.
No, I refuse to watch that. However, you should watch The Price of Gold, I think it's called. Netflix documentary. That is a better, I mean, because I, Tanya almost, it glorifies Tanya Harding. That shouldn't be, I mean, that's wrong. I'm going to take a hardline stance. Tanya Harding is not a hero. But watch The Price of Gold. It's a better version of I, Tanya, and it's, you know, it's really good.
I think I did see. I think I did happen to.
Yeah,
to see
I think
that
that's
documentary.
what it's called. Again, don't listen to me.
We can find out during the next song.
Right? Yeah, use Google.
Yeah.
Whenever you listen to anything I'm a part of, just have an open computer ready, just in case, because I'm going to screw up. I'm going to make a mistake. Either I don't know it or I say the wrong thing.
So, any other movies you've seen this year that kind of piqued your interest?
What else do we? Oh, Quiet Place. We went to see A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Now, you went to see that, correct?
No.
Or you had not seen that?
No.
Yeah, I would say it's not in the league of a movie like Get Out, which is an effective horror movie, but also thought-provoking. It tells like a deeper story.
Right.
But if you're looking for like a popcorn, like summer horror movie or, you know, anytime horror movie, I mean, it does the job. It's pretty good. And it's got Jim from The Office in it. And everybody likes him. Yeah, Quiet Place. Really good. Really good movie.
So, what was the best movie you've seen this year out of Infinity Wars?
No, probably Deadpool 2.
Oh, Deadpool
I think I
2,
like
okay.
Deadpool 2 the most out of, I mean, because just, it's really good action in it. Although, like, I would say that my favorite part of Infinity War was when Iron Man and Spider-Man went to go rescue Doctor Strange in the spaceship. Like, that, I think that was, like, the best part of Infinity War.
Oh, okay.
You know, and really good action in that, too. I mean, the superhero fatigue that people keep saying.
So superhero fatigue and Star Wars fatigue, that's what we're experiencing?
Well, that's what people keep saying, but I think the Star Wars fatigue is a little bit more prevalent because the movies have been mediocre.
Yeah.
But with as long as the Marvel movies are good, I don't think that there is any kind of a fatigue. Now, maybe DC movie fatigue is set in because they are essentially going to have to reboot everything that they've done. Because, you know, Justice League wasn't good. Batman v Superman wasn't good. And they're sort of like trapped. Like, they've only got Wonder Woman. And that's it. That was their only decent superhero movie. And I don't know, maybe they'll do like a Flashpoint thing where they use time travel to reboot everything, or I don't know. It just, they've dug themselves in a hole that, you know, it's not going to be easy to get out of. But
so yeah, if you've been to a movie recently, you probably saw a trailer for the Queen movie, and so we're going to tease that a little bit, and we're going to play another song by Queen, Queen and David Bowie. This is Under Pressure. All right, one of the hottest issues in local Tacoma Park policies these days is the debate over the proposed development at Tacoma Junction. Eric Bond will host a discussion of the Tacoma Junction controversy on Talk of Tacoma Sunday, June 3rd. Talk of Tacoma airs from 1 to 3 p.m. only on WOD 94.3 FM and TacomaRadio.org. And we are back with the Thought Bowl.
WOWD.
WOWD.
You
on
said
the Thought Bowl.
W-O-D, Pete.
I said WOD?
You did. It might be-
WOWD.
In case people forget what station they're listening to.
94.3 FM or TacomaRadio.org across the world. And we're back here with David Lomison, world-renowned movie critic. We rehashed the Solo movie. We talked about Deadpool and some other great movies of this year. And now something exciting for the future, the movie about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
It's going to be good. The trailers that they've had, and they've had the trailer out. The last handful of movies I've seen, the trailers shown beforehand, and I mean, it looks really good. Like Remy Malek from
Mr. Robot.
Yeah, he looks like Freddie Mercury.
He does.
No question. They got the music, which is good. I think you said before that it was like a mix of him singing and Freddie.
Yeah, I did some type of mashup. And what I really like about the trailer is it's almost like the mega mix they did of all those Queen songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, the drum beat to We Will Rock You, interlude with other riffs and stuff. I think that's really interesting.
Another One Bites the Dust
Another
in
One
there,
Bites the Dust,
too.
yeah.
And every movie that I've seen that trailer has played before, good reaction from the crowd in there. Good reaction. People seem to be hyped for it after the trailer. Now, I wanna preface that I'm not sure the behind the scenes things that I've heard. Now, there's something about Brian May, how they wanted the story to focus more on the band as a whole. And there was like a rumor that Freddie actually dies like halfway through, and the rest of the movie is about the band going on without him. I don't know if I would be interested in seeing that movie.
Well, you might be seeing
I might be seeing that movie. I mean,
that might be the movie that you see.
I mean, just walk out after the first 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
Yeah, I have heard that. In fact, Roger Daltrey of The Who was on the radio yesterday because they're making a movie about Keith Moon, the drummer from The Who. And Roger Daltrey kind of made some remark. He's like, yeah, the movie's in development right now, and I promise you this movie will be about Keith Moon, almost as a blast to the Queen movie, almost like only part of it is actually going to be about Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, that's a little disconcerting. I mean, and there was friction between, because they had Borat. He was going to play Freddie Mercury when they first started talking about this, and apparently he clashed with Brian May and the band. He thought the movie was going to be more about Freddie's life and it was going to be a little darker, but that's why he left the project. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and he was really, really, really mad because he spent like 6 months to a year taking like upper level vocal classes and stuff and like preparing his voice.
I think he would have made a good Freddie
I
Mercury.
thought he really
I would
like too.
I mean, that's probably going to come out at some point, but his like screen test or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
If they started filming anything with him, like preliminary stuff, I would like to see that. But, we'll see. I mean, the trailer's good. I mean, obviously the music's good, and we'll find out when it comes out. I hope it's really good because I still think Queen is an underrated band.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Led Zeppelin, everybody talks about them. The Beatles, everybody talks about them, but I mean, nobody really. You hear Queen every time you watch or go to a sporting event.
Oh yeah, the We Will Rock You.
Yeah, I mean,
banging on the bleacher sound.
What band can you say that about? I mean, other than Electric Slide, I guess.
Maybe the Gorillaz.
Yeah. maybe. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
And that's the other thing I was, because I got impressed by that song, Dragon Attack, so I started watching some videos of Queen last night and some of their live performances and everything. And you kind of forget, like, the rock stuff, but they had some real funky stuff like that Dragon Attack. That was a real, it's because their bass player, Deacon, he was a really funky bass player.
Oh, yeah.
And you forget kind of almost some of the disco sound and stuff. Like another one bites that's just not totally disco, but it has like a little disco flavor in there.
And that was when you were sort of getting into that era, when they were getting into like more funk and like electronic, because there was a point where like the first maybe 5-6 Queen albums, they had a disclaimer on the album that said no synthesizers were played on this album. And then I forget which album. I think it was the one that had Another One Bites the Dust on it. That was the first album where they were
That's
like,
the game.
we use synthesizers. And then that led to maybe their most polarizing album, which was Hot Space, which is basically all synth music.
Right.
But that one also had Under Pressure on it. So, you know, they can still do good when they do bad.
Right. And have you seen, what other movies about bands have you seen that kind of caught your attention? Like the Doors movie. Did you see that?
The Doors. Oh, yeah, I've seen the Doors movie.
And I do kind of think that's going to draw some comparisons because Val Kilmer basically became Jim Morrison. Mm-hmm. So much so that when I saw pictures of Jim Morrison afterwards, I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like Jim Morrison, because I got so used to seeing Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison that I almost forgot what the original Jim Morrison actually looked like. And I think that was probably one of the more successful, because it's hard to do a biop, real deal movie. I mean, not something that's just going to be on HBO or Showtime, but something that's at a movie theater. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do.
There is a path. I mean, we were talking earlier about like Star Wars fatigue, Marvel fatigue, superhero movie fatigue. There is a path where this Freddie Mercury movie does well, this Keith Moon movie does well. Maybe the next big movie genre that we're bombarded with is the musician biopic,
like
that could sprawling over time with like a soundtrack that everybody can get behind.
I like that. I like that.
Now I'm gonna put you on blast, Pete. Who directed the Queen movie? Huh? Who's directing it?
Quentin Tarantino.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Lots of pictures of Freddie Mercury.
Okay. Well, we did find out who did the Infinity Wars. It's the Russo brothers.
Yes, Russo
Joe
brothers.
and Anthony Russo.
Not to be confused with the Duffer brothers.
Right. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our program, but continue listening to WOWD. After this, we have Roadside Attractions with Brian spinning a variety of vintage rock and roll, country blues, and folk from Off the Beaten Path. 6 to 8 p.m., Roots and Wings Radio. 8 to 10 p.m., Divino and Marfalosio. And continue listening. Listen to Tacoma Radio 24/7. That's
please,
just my advice.
We implore you, please.
Yeah, doctors have recommended that listening to WOWD-LP every day.
You can't legally say that, Pete. Right, you can't legally say that.
So we're going to leave you with Bohemian Rhapsody. So thank you, David, for coming in.
Thank you.